Hey, happy Friday. This week, Apple's first ever modem outperformed Qualcomm, the EU forced Apple to open up iOS to the competition, and Huawei reinvented the foldable. Welcome to the Friday Checkout. This video was sponsored by Announcned. Okay, for my first story of the week, Apple's brand new C1 modem seems to be doing really well. You might know that Ookla, the company that runs speedtest.net, where people test their internet speeds, actually collects and analyzes their results, and they released a new report from these showing what they're seeing from Apple's new modem. They compared the iPhone 16e, which has the new C1 Apple modem, against the iPhone 16, which has a Qualcomm modem. In short, while the Qualcomm modem did win on all three US carriers when it came to peak performance, which is what you get when you have a strong signal, the Apple modem conversely achieved a significant victory when you look at what they called the 10th percentile results, which were the tests where speeds were low, likely due to poor reception, and the differences are pretty big. So Qualcomm gets better peak performance, but Apple gets significantly better when reception is poor, which in my opinion is honestly a lot more important. Also, when looking at carriers overall, the Apple modem won 2 out of 3 in the US, while the Qualcomm modem only won on T-Mobile. That is very impressive for Apple for a first-generation modem, even if, as I understand it, Qualcomm probably wasn't giving Apple their best modems for the iPhones anyway, so maybe they still lead in other devices. Okay, and for my second story of the week, the European Union passed a really interesting new set of rules for Apple. Specifically, they ordered the company to open up iOS for connected devices from third parties. The goal is to force Apple to open up iOS system services that were previously exclusive to its own ecosystem, so third-party devices can, in the future, connect just as smoothly and also have all the features of, for example, Apple Watches, AirPods, and co. That would be a pretty huge deal. The services in question include iOS notification access, which third-party watches can't currently show, as well as background execution, which currently limits third-party watches from doing things like syncing weather data seamlessly in the background. Meanwhile, AirPods competitors should be allowed to do automatic audio switching, automatic Wi-Fi connections for setup and config, proximity pairing, and more. And beside the accessories, Apple is also required to open up peer-to-peer Wi-Fi as well as media casting, which would allow competitors of AirDrop and AirPlay, for example, to come to the iPhone. That's like the majority of Apple's ecosystem lock-in. Pretty crazy, and this is all due to the EU's Digital Markets Act. The EU also made a timeline graphic, which of course just looks way too complicated, but essentially just boils down to all of this supposedly coming in 2025 or 2026. As you would expect, Apple does not like this, saying that the order, quote, wraps us in red tape, slowing down Apple's ability to innovate for users, and also that it is, quote, bad for our products and for our European users. Unsurprisingly, Apple's competitors like Pebble co-founder Eric called this a great step forward, as it would let iPhone users use his new watches properly, at least in the EU. The 900-pound gorilla in the room is of course Trump though, who I'm sure Apple is lobbying right now very hard to force the EU to drop these rules, so let's see how this goes. Okay, and for my third story of the week, Huawei proved that smartphone innovation is not dead, it's just really weird. You're looking at the brand new Huawei Pura X, which is kind of a weird hybrid between a flip and a fold-style phone. It's more or less the size of a flip phone, but it swaps the long and narrow aspect ratio into a short and wide one, where the inner display gives you a rather unusual 16:10 aspect ratio that looks more like a mini tablet than a phone. You can kind of see the difference in aspect ratios versus a regular foldable when you see the images side by side. And weirdly, when you use the screen on the outside, you're supposed to flip the phone on its side. Huawei claims that the main benefit is that you get more screen real estate on the inside, so I checked GSM Arena, which shows that the total screen area is about 6.7% bigger than a Razer and 13.2% bigger than a Samsung Flip, which is not nothing, but also not exactly a revolution. Instead, I think the biggest benefit is likely that the phone just feels less cramped, especially in landscape mode, so for doing gaming and stuff, it might be more comfortable. The device costs about $1,000 in China, and of course it also runs Harmony OS Next. I honestly can't decide if this is a good idea or not without trying it myself, but I really wish Samsung, for example, was trying stuff like this as well. Just make things interesting. Okay, and onto our release monitor, where we start with the brand new Pixel 9a. Google's mid-range phone costs $499, and the company managed to stuff the biggest battery in a Pixel ever into it, meaning that it's thicker and perhaps less iconic, but also manages to avoid a camera bump and probably lasts forever. I don't love the design, but I guess it's practical. Weirdly, the company already had to delay pre-orders due to a component quality issue, but I guess it should go on sale at some point in the future. Anyway, also new this week was that the Pebble revival continued in the form of the Core 2 Duo, which is a plastic watch with a black and white e-paper screen, and then the Core Time 2, which instead features a color e-paper touchscreen, a metal body, and a heart rate monitor. As a massive fan of Pebble watches in the past, I was really excited about this, but then also as a person who got really used to Wear OS and full apps on it, like Heavy for example, yeah, I don't think I can go back anymore. Moving on, the Japanese firm Elecom released what they claim is the first ever consumer-grade sodium-ion power bank, which is genuinely interesting. This chemistry allows them to survive really extreme temperatures and also a crazy 5,000 charge cycles, which is way more than normal, and the unit costs $76. Sodium-ion batteries are extremely durable, and they also skip some of the critical minerals from lithium-ion batteries, but they're less dense and they also have lower voltage, so there are some clear trade-offs. Anyway, talking of unexpected releases from Japan, Fuji announced the GFX 100RF, which puts a gigantic medium-format camera sensor into a compact body with a fixed lens, which altogether weighs just 735 grams. This is a very niche product for sure, but really cool. And also cool is Samsung's next generation SSD called the 9100 Pro, which uses PCIe 5. I put the performance numbers on screen so I don't have to read them out loud, and yeah, it's insanely fast, and it also promises 49% increased power efficiency. Cool. And to wrap up the release monitor, you can see all the recent products that actually went on sale this week right here, which includes the new SSD, the power bank, and also Samsung's mid-range A-series phones from 2 weeks ago. Meanwhile, the Pebble watches are up for pre-order, but already getting delayed. As usual, links to all the products are in the description, and now moving on to the brief, which starts with Google's biggest acquisition ever. They bought the Israeli cloud security firm Wiz for $32 billion just 5 years after that company was started. They say Wiz will remain an independent platform that will continue to work with other cloud providers, but you can bet that Microsoft and Amazon are not happy about any of this. It also looks like Google is really hoping that the Trump administration will allow mergers and acquisitions much more easily than the Biden administration did, so they waited until the new administration was in power. Anyway, next, BYD announced the first ever megawatt charging car. That is 1,000 kilowatts, delivering a bonkers 400 kilometers or 249 miles of range in 5 minutes at peak. Details are sparse, but this is apparently not just a tech demo, as they will soon be available on 2 regular BYD cars actually going on sale in China. You need a pretty insane grid to allow many regular people to charge their cars at 1 megawatt each, so I don't think this will be very widespread, but okay. Also this week, Nvidia held its big GTC 2025 event, where they gave us a glimpse at their next generation AI chips called Vera Rubin, but also most interestingly DGX desktops, which are personal AI supercomputers that'll be made by partners like Asus, Dell, HP, and more to run bigger and better AI models locally. Pretty cool. Then, in great news for the open web, the newsletter platform Ghost, which is basically a better Substack, has just connected itself to the Fediverse this week, allowing bloggers to share their works via the ActivityPub protocol. So you could now subscribe to a Ghost newsletter using, for example, your Mastodon, and then see the contents of the Ghost newsletters in your Mastodon feed. You could like them using your Mastodon account, comment on them, etc., and everything would be integrated. Pretty cool. And talking of social media, Blue Sky has hilariously revealed that the company made more money in 1 day of selling t-shirts than in 2 years of selling custom domains. The t-shirt in question says "A World Without Caesars" in Latin, which is a great dunk on Zuck, who wore a t-shirt saying "Zuck or nothing" in the same style. I gotta say, Blue Sky really seems to get internet culture in a way that many other social media projects don't. Okay, and for one of the most incredible stories of the week, a sperm bank called California Cryobank just lost the sensitive data of its customers due to a cyber attack, including, quote, names, social security numbers, driver's license numbers, financial account details, and health insurance information. That is a pretty scary reminder that your most sensitive data is a hot commodity that is being bought and sold online. It is used to personalize phishing emails at you that become incredibly hard to spot. It is used in people search databases by shady actors, and even some governments have admitted to just buying it on the internet instead of doing the spying themselves. So-called data brokers are buying and selling this stuff, and my sponsor Incogni was built specifically to combat them. Because, as it turns out, in these countries at least, data brokers are legally required to delete your information if you ask them. You can see that in my case, Incogni has already found my data in 160 databases and has successfully removed me from most of them. That is an absolutely insane figure. Now, of course, you could just do this yourself, but that would require you finding all of these data brokers yourself, dealing with objections, and also periodically checking in with them to see if they haven't just added you back again after deleting you. That is just not practical for most people, but Incogni does all of this continually on your behalf in the background with a subscription. They support multiple email addresses and also 3 physical addresses with a single subscription, plus they also have family plans. Now, the removal is only legally required to work in countries that have legal frameworks for this, but that is a pretty good selection already. And to sign up, be sure to use my code FridayCheckout to get an exclusive 60% off an annual Incogni plan. That is incogni.com/FridayCheckout for 60% off, and I'll see you next Friday.